Hey guys, it's your girl Jay and we're back with another video, and today we're gonna be making some cabbage. A simple cabbage recipe, no meat in it, no like smothered ham hocks or anything in it, just a simple cabbage recipe for today. I don't really smother my cabbage with the ham hocks and everything like that, so I'm just gonna show you how to do a simple recipe. And it's real easy and simple. Anybody can do it. Okay, so I got my cabbage from Winn-Dixie, and I just washed off my cabbage on the outside. Now I take away these green pieces, the ones that's like really dark green. Those are mainly like the tougher pieces of the cabbage. So when I have that on my, sometimes the cabbage come with it, sometimes it doesn't, right? So but when you have that, you can cook it. Some people cook it, some people don't, but I cook it. So before I cut my cabbage, I do take those off. And then I start off by just flipping the cabbage halfway over and cutting off the back pieces, the back part of the cabbage, and I split it in half. Now, a cabbage, make sure you have a really good knife. My knife, it needs to be sharpened. It's really not that good anymore, but you know, I got to do what I got to do, right? What I have. So I just split my cabbage in half, split it in fours, basically. So split it in half first and then split it again. So then it'll just be easier for you to cut the cabbage, okay? Cabbage, it makes a little mess when you do cut it because pieces are just flying off when you cut it, but that's okay, all right? So you'll see in the inside of a cabbage, it's mostly white, right? You're like, why is it so white? That's just what cabbage is. Cabbage, when you cook it, is mostly just cooked down to water. But yeah, this is how I cut my cabbage. I don't cut it I try not to cut it too thin and too small, because I do like a sort of like a big cabbage piece, but I don't like shredded cabbage. And I don't want to cook it like it's shredded, right? Like it's collard greens, because it's not collard greens. So we're not gonna like cut it that small. Now I do cut off the little hard, I don't know if it's called like a stalk, but I do cut off like the hard piece in the middle of that cabbage. I do cut that off and throw it away. But like I said, I don't cut my cabbage real small. I don't like it like that. So I just, when I cut it, I do put it in like the strainer bowl. So then when I wash off my cabbage from the inside, it's already in like, the water can like run off from the bowl. I don't have to like flip it over. Then my cabbage is all falling in the sink and everything like that. So yeah, this is how I cut my cabbage. Now that I got majority of the cabbage cut up, you're going to see me, those green pieces that I told you about when I first brought my cabbage on, I'm going to roll that up like it's collard greens. Now, because these pieces are very tough, right? So I'm going to roll it up just like you do collard greens, and I'm going to cut them thin just like collard greens, just like we do in the South. Cut them up real thin, roll it up real tight, and cut it really thin, okay? And I'm going to cook this first. So I'll put it in the pan for about 10 to 15 minutes and let it boil on its own before I put the rest of the cabbage in there. Because if you put those tough pieces in there with the rest of the cabbage, and the cabbage cooks really quickly, it's not gonna be done. You're gonna have pieces that are really tough, and then you're gonna have pieces that are cooked thoroughly, and you don't want it to be mixed. Like, you don't want tough pieces with soft pieces, right? Because it doesn't take long for cabbage to cook like at all. So I'm just gonna put a little bit of water in there because you don't need a lot of water for cabbage. So I'm just going to put a little water in there. I'm not going to put any seasoning in there because I'll put all my seasonings in there later. And I'm just going to let that boil on like a medium heat. Okay, so now that my cabbage for the dark green pieces are cooked down for about 10 to 15 minutes, I'm going to add in the rest of my cabbage right on top of it, right? And so I don't add my seasonings like, beforehand, or any like season the cabbage beforehand. You can do all of that. Like once you add in the cabbage, you can put the seasonings on top, because when it's cooked down, you can just stir it. It's just easier that way. That's the way I was taught. It's just easier for me. That's what I do. Okay. And so you're going to add all the cabbage in there. I don't care if it looks like it's too much, like the top is not going to fit or whatever. Just add in all the cabbage. Sometimes cabbage, you buy it and it's really, really big. Some cabbage are, smaller than others. It just depends on what cabbage you get from the store. This one that I got was pretty big. Okay. So I did have like some pieces left over or whatever, but like I said, it just depends on what size you get. Now I add in some, I know my bottle says garlic powder, but I had a really, really big seasoning salt thing from Restaurant Depot, and I just put it in the smaller container. But I do put seasoned salt in there. I put Goya all-purpose seasoning in there, and then I put pepper. That's it. 3 seasoning ingredients. Okay, it's 3 seasoning ingredients. You don't need so many ingredients, so many seasonings, so many powders in a cabbage, especially a basic cabbage. You don't need that much. It don't take that much, I promise you. I mean, and that's why sometimes people, in the South, some people put like smoked neck bones, ham hocks in their cabbage, because it creates a flavor to where you don't have to put a lot of seasonings in there at all, because it doesn't take that much. All right. So now I'm going to add in some carrots, some shredded carrots. Some people cut their carrots themselves, but I didn't have time for all of that because, nope, your girl was hungry. So I let my cabbage boil down a little bit, and then I added my carrots back in there. Now, you see, I did it, stir my seasoning. When I put the seasoning in there, I didn't stir it when I first put it in there, because, like I said, once the cabbage steams down, you can just stir it. Now you can see that it's like, cooking down. And now I'm just going to stir it in the pot, make sure all the seasonings are blended. Now you may be wondering, like, how much water did I put in the pot? I only put a small amount, because cabbage creates its own water. Once it cooks down, it creates a lot of water. You can see kind of at the bottom of the pot when I stir it, it has water at the bottom. That's why you don't put a lot of water in there, like you would cook like collard green or something like that, because it just creates a lot of water. You put the same amount as if you're putting it in the pressure cooker, because pressure cookers create a lot of steam and a lot of water. But here's the kicker, y'all. I put a little sugar in my cabbage. Yes, I know. You may not have heard of it, but I like to put sugar in my cabbage. It makes it a little sweet. Just try it. Don't knock it until you try it, okay? But I think it's really good, and it just adds like another little flavor to it. But yeah, this is my simple cabbage recipe without meat. If you want to see another video, some Southern soul food cooking, let me know in the comments. Like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much, and have a great day.